right now you've got a treat really, because you've got a couple of Australians, and we're going to tell you this amazing story. I've been in radio and television in Australia for about 30 years, and now I live in America. I've been here 4 years, and I absolutely love it and adore it. And one of my good friends, we used to kick around when we were 17 back in Australia. He was a drummer in a rock band, and I was a singer in a rock band. 3 weeks ago, without any warning, something happened. And that's why we say, life or death, your choice, a survivor's story. I'm talking about executive chef Bruce Barber, who is an executive chef to the stars, Barbara Streisand, Will and Jada Smith, and lots of other people. So please, could you give a big welcome to executive chef Bruce Barber. Woo! Bruce, he's over here. He does that to me every time. I'm over there, and he walks in this way. How are you, Bruce?
Good, mate.
Good to see you. Now, you have an amazing story. I just want to tell everybody just a quick précis of your life. Born in America.
Yes.
Went to Australia at an early age. 9. Went to Australia. Did your schooling in Australia.
Yes.
Got into drumming.
Yes.
Rock and roll band. You and I used to be at Jindalee, having a good time in Brisbane all those years ago, right?
Yes, we did.
And then you did television in Australia.
Yes.
Came back to America.
And radio.
And radio. Now, how old were you when you came back to America?
I was 40.
40. So you spent a fair time down in Australia. One could imagine you
30 years.
You overindulged yourself.
You could say that, yes.
Too much alcohol, too much fast food.
Yes.
Too much of the good life. Now, what made you get into cooking?
Well, my dad cooked when I was younger. My mother didn't know how to cook, so my dad did all the cooking, and he owned a restaurant in Australia for a short time, and I used to go and help him out after school. And I ended up leaving home to go on the road with a band when I was like 16, and it was basically a case of teach myself how to cook or starve. So I taught myself how to cook.
So now, let's fast forward to Los Angeles. You're a film editor with the top film houses in Burbank.
I was actually worked for NBC for about 2 years.
There you go. And now you also became and re-looked at being a chef again. How did that happen?
I had been working at another television network that shall remain nameless. And I just kind of got burnt out, didn't want to do it anymore, and I decided I wanted to pursue my interest in cooking and take that to the next level. So I went to the new School of Cooking in Culver City and did a 20-week professional cooking course just to brush up on what I already knew, and then I decided I wanted to go and be a personal chef. And this was right at the time that my wife and I were selling our first house and buying our second house. And I went to my wife and said, I'm going to quit my job and become a personal chef. Needless to say, she wasn't too happy about that. But she did support me, and she did let me pursue it, and she's always been supportive with anything I've wanted to do, so it's been really good. And yeah.
Well, Bruce, one could imagine being a personal executive chef to Barbara Streisand, Will and Jada Smith. It's very glamorous, but there's also a lot of pressure involved.
Well, being a private chef and being a caterer, there's always pressure involved. It doesn't matter whether it's Barbara Streisand or whether it's anybody in this audience. The pressure's on myself to do the absolute best job I can do, and I won't accept anything less than perfection. So it doesn't really matter. So the pressure that's there, I'm putting that on myself, really. Right. You know, being a celebrity, yes, there's a little bit of extra pressure, especially with Mrs. Brolin, right, as she likes to be called, because she often has very high-profile celebrities as her guests.
Right.
So you not only have to please her, but you have to please them as well.
Right.
So yeah, there was some extra pressure involved there.
So as an executive chef, I see a lot of chefs, they're cooking something, they're having a little taste all the way through. Now, is that what you do?
I always taste everything.
Right.
As I'm cooking, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because certain clients like food a little spicy, a little salty, some not so much. So I have to keep tasting and adjusting to make sure that I'm giving the client what they want.
Okay, now let's get to the survivor's story, life or death. Tell everybody here what happened to executive chef Bruce Barber 3 weeks ago today.
Well, let's go back a little bit further to mid-June when I went and had my annual physical, which I've been having every year for the last 8 years, and this is the whole works. The stress echo test on the treadmill and the chest X-ray, blood workup, everything. And so I had the physical, and then a few weeks later, around early August, late July, I had the stress echo test. My doctor found a little tiny, seemingly insignificant little glitch in the EKG electrocardiogram that he wasn't too happy about, but he wasn't overly worried about it. But just in case, he decided to send the results to a cardiologist. The cardiologist had a look at it, and he also said, you know what, let's get him in for a consult, let's check him out. And so he brought me in, I went and saw him. He said, yeah, you know what, I don't think it's anything, but let's go and do an angiogram just in case. Maybe you've got a very small blockage. We'll put a stent in there, which is kind of like a little balloon they put in there, which has got wire mesh. They stick it in, they blow it up, they pull the balloon out, and the wire mesh stays in there and basically opens up the clot. He said, if that's probably all it's going to be. You'll come in on a Friday, you'll do the angiogram, we'll put the stent in there, Saturday you're on your way home. So I went in on the 28th of August. I went in, I had my angiogram, the doctor came out 45 minutes later, my wife was waiting in the waiting room, and he said to my wife, he's not going anywhere. He's staying in the hospital. He has to have triple bypass surgery. I had what they call a widowmaker blockage. And that basically meant that if I was to have had a heart attack, guaranteed death. So on the Sunday, the 30th of August, I had the surgery. 3 days later, they sent me home, and here I am 3 weeks later.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, life or death, your choice, a true survivor's story. And I'm sure the message that you'd like to tell everybody today, Chef Bruce, is that people should have regular medical checkups.
Yes, unfortunately, not everybody can afford to have a regular medical checkup because there's 40 million people in America who don't have health coverage. And things like that don't come cheap. But yes, if there is a way that can be done through a free clinic, through your local hospital emergency room or something, I urge everybody to get regular checkups and to at least get a heart scan or an angiogram